Hi. You may have met people in your life who seem to be always stuck in problem. You try your best to salvage them. You actually extend some substantial help towards them. You take some concrete steps towards making their lives better. But their grievances towards things, they just don't end. They have a tendency to uh, keep talking about only the negatives. Now, of late, I have felt that this is exactly what the government does in the country. No matter how disciplined, Indians are by far much more disciplined than many countries that we know. No matter how disciplined we are, no matter how uh, dutifully we pay taxes, how much we keep our patience at the ridiculously high prices of things such as petrol, edible oil, so on and so forth. In fact, when these two things, especially petrol, the prices of petrol, it skyrockets, everything has its everything experiences a price increase, and inflation effectively erodes our savings. When we don't have savings, we don't spend much. When we don't spend much, the market becomes dull and people are not motivated to reinvest in their businesses, and how that's how the economy collapses until some tower moment is experienced by the whole system, when there is a strong shake-up. But who would bring that strong shake-up? Ever since I have started to understand economy, the government has always been crying about how much deficit it is experiencing. Now, do they actually expect that we would sympathize towards them? Why are they so incompetent not to do what they're expected to do? Now, if a child fails year after year in a single exam, in a single class, we would stop giving that child the benefit of the doubt that something really bad might have taken place, etc., etc. And that then you have no option than to take away all your benefits of the doubt, and you do have no option than to consider the child uh, an incompetent one. That's exactly what the government is doing, whichever be the party. Because, as I said, I remember all parties talking, weeping about what it is going through. If they are weeping so much, why do they come into power? Let some more competent force uh, come into come into the forefront. Anyways, so the deficit that they experience, the fiscal deficit, is of course when the expenditure is higher than the revenue. Now let's talk about specifically about two, three things. First is going to be petrol, then subsidies, because that's also something they hide behind. Subsidies is also certain things that is also a thing that they hide behind. So let's start with petrol prices. Now, I'm not going to talk about how the breakup of the petrol prices, because we all know that the actual price of the product, the commodity, is not more than 37 to 38 rupees, plus minus a few rupees with time. But then it's the central GST, the state GST, the dealer's commission, that makes it so very expensive, so ridiculously expensive. In my state, in my city, it is 120 per liter. It was 120 rupees per liter, as per day before yesterday. I I don't know what's the price today. What's the rate of the petrol is today? So, excuse me. All right, and it is pretty much the same case with all places in the country. So how about how about knowing that the refineries, which are mostly government owned, they are they are having amazing they are recording amazing profits, 24,000 crores, 63 something thousand crores, etc., etc. I mean, you could just look through in the in Google and find that thing out. So basically, refineries are government owned, most of them, except for five or six. There are, I guess, 20 in all. I read it, but I don't remember the exact number. But this is to tell you how opaque the whole situation is. There are 18 refineries, out of which only five or six are private. The rest are government owned. They charge for the refining and the refining that they do, and the marketing, oil marketing company are also mostly government owned. That is, most of the share, the majority, the major chunk of the shares are with the government. So basically they are charging, they are I want to use the right word, they are having these multiple income sources just for a single commodity, that's petrol, and that's the one of the highest earning commodities in the country, that they slurp they slurp away all the money that people have, because they know that for transportation people would require that. People would require petrol, and in that case, they are basically charging at two different levels. They're charging at the refining level, they're charging at the tax level. So after 35 to 40 rupees, let's say, if we take the price to be 100, 20, around 25 or something tax percent tax is by central, um, is a state, sorry, central GST. Then the state GST is also sizable, then the dealers commission is 4 or 5%, and that's how it makes up the total price of petrol. That's the breakup. The second thing, why are the refining uh, why are the refining companies charging so much? They say that after deregulation of the petrol prices, which means prices would change on a day-to-day basis depending on the international price of the crude oil. But if I'm attaching certain links where you would find out that they don't make payments. The government doesn't make payments to these countries, these exporting countries, on the same day. They don't make them payments in the spot market. They have long-term contracts, and the prices are averaged and then made, and then the payment is made. So this is one thing that you need to remember, that the customers are charged on a day-to-day basis, but they don't themselves, the government themselves don't, uh, the companies themselves do not make the payment the same day. They make it on a long term basis where the prices are averaged. So in that case as well, there is a huge profit to be made. Third thing, India ranks 55th on the quality of the fuel we use. So why are we on the number 55th? Why the refining companies, despite extorting all the money, all the liquidity that the citizens have, are not able to give ace product in the market. So consequently, lot of sulfur content in the, it's almost 50 mg, and the stipulated uh, it's, the allowed component, the allowed limit for sulfur is 10 mg. So although There has been some improvement since last year, but I don't know uh, whether it has actually been implemented. There was a news that India will improve its the quality of the fuel it uses. That was the third thing. Now the fourth thing is India does not use all the crude oil it imports. About 20 to 25% of the oil consumption in India is made by its domestic sources. Rest is imported from outside. But whatever amount that India imports, it does not use the complete amount in on the home ground. In domestic meet trying to meet the domestic needs, it exports quite a bit outside. In fact, refined oil is the second largest exports that India made, barring last year, because India had to India had to make changes in its import destination from Saudi Arabia to US and Nigeria, because there were certain clauses that there were certain misalignments with Saudi Arabia. Though the import quantity hasn't wiped out, hasn't been changed completely, but there's a slight modulation. All right, so it's just it's just there this uh this thing we need to remember, that it exports quite a bit to all those countries who need refined oil. But since the production of cost is cheap, one of the cheapest in India exports them quite an amount of petrol at a price much cheaper, because then those countries like America, like US, like Hong Kong or Singapore, all those places where the prices of petrol is high, they will not, however, pay central GST and state GST that India levies on its own citizens. So uh, but India has to make a bigger market, has to find a bigger market for exports of refined oil. So this is also a thing to remember. Now the fifth point: only 1% of Indian population, they have vehicles. As far as manufacturing is concerned, where fuel is required, even that is not doing very well. We all know that manufacturing industries have to increase many folds in order to have the kind of economic growth that we are looking for. So what is this consumption of oil? Where exactly is it taking place? Talking of subsidies now. Talking of subsidy, I'm talking about it because it is another point of where the government talks that it's losing a lot of money. It is losing a lot of revenues that it gets from taxes and deposits, etc. So basically, government takes not just takes taxes from individuals and corporates and all and other indirect sources, but it also takes deposits, savings, and then they say we are paying a lot of interest, and a lot of our money is going into paying interest to these people. But then it is we must bear in mind that when we give them money, we as in individuals, banks, corporates, they deposit money with the government. The money just doesn't it does not lie idle. The government gives loans to of that money at a much higher rate. At least it should be a sizable margin, so that profits can be made. So paying interest rate has fallen down so much. We have all spoken about it. So Yeah, I'm still not talking about subsidies. Yes. So third thing, we are paying a lot in the subsidies. That's a big drain on our budgets. So subsidies, for example, let's take food subsidies. Now, it was the food bill was passed in 2013, and what was India doing for all those 65 years of independence when it had faced abject poverty? Why was it passed so late? But anyway, it was passed, and then uh, the major one of the major causes was that food management, the economic cost of storing food, that much amount of excess food, was quite high, and about 40% of the food that India produced got wasted. It's still the case. So it got wasted. So that was also one of the major causes what led to food subsidy. Not just that they're the heart chakra of these people in power was overflowing with love for the citizens. All right, so that's giving away food to people who can't afford it at subsidized rate. There's so much opaqueness, lack of transparency, that you would find speeches of the finance minister saying that 80% of the people are getting food. Sorry, 80 crore people are getting food at subsidized rate. Now, why are they getting at subsidized rate? Someone may ask if it is meant for only people who are in the poverty zone. So they twist and turn the data, because at many different sources, it's it is written that only 30, not only, no, only is not the right word, 8 crore people are suffering from abject absolute poverty. 8 sorry 8 crore, yeah, I said 8 crore. Okay. And 30 to 35% people, talking in terms of percentage, are can take benefit of the food subsidy. So how come out of 130 crores, the figure just notches up to 80 crores for food subsidy? That was a big anomaly. So are you twisting and turning, twisting the data? There, you're just playing with the data according to your convenience, and then uh, the food that's available in the food subsidy is not of the desired quality. It lacks proteins, so the pulses are completely uh, out of this ambit, which can actually build some muscle power, and and subsequently improve the productivity of the labor class. So you're just keeping them alive, and whichever be the party in power in all these years, w- one thing that can't escape our one thing that can't escape our attention is that food subsidy is only required when you completely ignore your rural development and do not generate employment opportunities, do not bring them to a level where they can earn their own livelihood. You're giving away fertilizers, but what about the land consolidation rules? Are they going to use that fertilizer and grow crops in a pot? Is there where the harvest is to be done? What about people with really small land holding, or people who don't have lands of their own and are a part of rural population? All right, so productivity wasn't increased. Mm, the marketing or and transportation of the food was not in its proper shape. There were so many big loopholes. You were completely focusing on a capital intensive urban development and completely forgetting uh, rural development. No skill development took place in that labor class that was working in the fields. There were a lot of different anomalies that we could find. So, yeah, and what is exactly subsidy, or what is exactly the things that are changing around us? You have dismal ranking in education system, world rank. When you rank yourself on world standards, we are 55th or 59th. We keeps changing in education system. It comes when it comes to infrastructure again, we have some 50 something place. When it comes to health, we have, I guess, if I remember correctly, 35th position. So what are we excelling in? And there are so many distractions that common people find themselves embroiled into. They talk about some celebrities' mishap, they talk about cricket, they talk about the animosity, the negativity that they feel because of some action of the neighbor countries. But then the most of it can be easily tackled. Like if you stop all connection with the neighboring countries, absolutely no reaction, not even in the virtual world. So even on social media, you completely ignore them. There are no ties at all. There's some normalcy that is bound to come, but nothing of that sort is done because it works for them. Some distraction that these enemy or neighboring countries uh, provide is a good distraction. It works for the government, so they don't work towards it. So, and even religion, I mean, it is such a personal thing. To talk about it on public platform is a I don't know. It's a juvenile thing. You do your thing, I do my thing, and nobody messes with each other. That should be the attitude, but it's not. So all these things that we usually find ourselves talking about on social media are big distraction. It works for the government because they just can't. They're so damn incompetent. Their shit show never ends. So we are bound to suffer. Indians are bound to suffer with low self confidence. And I have some of my friends or acquaintances who've moved out. And even though they were just average performers in the country, they have built themselves a fortune when they moved out because the kind of conducive uh, environment that they got, most of the brightness it dims in the country. uh, we are giving away. The government has become any government in power has become energy vampires. Why can't it perform well? Think about it. We've been hearing since when we were little that India is a developing country. We have so much problem. I mean, people who got independence after we did, they have caught up. All we have to do on an individual level, we need to put our foot down. We need to disengage, detach ourselves from the forces uh, working as central in the administration. Emotionally detach ourselves. That's all we can do. Of course, we'll be paying taxes. Of course, there are so many things that we will be required to do, but at least on an emotional level, we should just disengage because there's so much opaqueness and there's so much that more than what meets the eye. You can't help but suspect this that there is so much commission being taken, there's so much leakages that are taking place, there's so much bribery in the system. The simple thing would be just to make the system transparent and remove the tires of hierarchy. I heard the other day that a certain somebody extorted money from a film star. Uh, you know all about that, right? So why were those people even there to extort money? Why, if there were only two, three people or levels, taking care of the whole case, why would there be a chance of extortion? I guess the video has anyways gotten very long. I am using this medium to get things out of my system, whether it finds place in the universe or it doesn't. I've done my bit. We must all speak up. We must all understand the truth. Bye bye.